G'day folks, today I'm going to show you how to rig a striped tiger nymph soft plastic. I get a lot of questions from people asking me how to rig soft plastics and what size jig head to use and blah blah blah. So I'm hoping that by making this short video I might be able to just give a few pointers and it might be something you can find a bit useful. There we have a bag of striped tiger nymphs. The 1-inch nymph. These are my favourite striped tiger soft plastic. These are my favourite soft plastic in general. They're small, they're tiny, and they mimic all kinds of little insects and bugs and stuff when they're scented. But see that? It looks just like a yabby, or just like a mud-eye or a yabby, or just some kind of nymph. Maybe the nymphal stage of a dragonfly, which is a mud-eye, or the nymphal stage of any kind of little insect or something that we see flying around. Many of those insects that you see, whether it's mayflies, some of the moths and whatnot, begin their life at the bottom of the river as a little nymph. When they're mature, they will gradually work their way to the surface. Sometimes they climb up a bit of grass or whatnot. Sometimes they just emerge, they just drift up and float, and they grow wings and fly away. And that's what the nymph is. The nymph is designed to mimic a nymph. Not any nymph in particular. It could be looked at as a little yabby, it could be looked at as a little mud-eye, or just anything from that sort of species of insect or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, that's a natural looking striped tiger nymph. Now, I've got some striped tiger jig heads here. I've got two sizes. I've got size 4, which is a little bit smaller than the size 2, and this one's 1/32 of an ounce. That is 1/16 of an ounce. So that's double the weight of that one there. Ideally you want the light one. The lighter jig head will allow your soft plastic to move more slowly through the water. It won't sink as fast. So it looks a lot more natural, and you can sort of move it around in jerking little spurts and just make it look a bit more live-like. Whereas the heavier one, because it sinks quicker, it's hard to suspend it in the water column. With this ultralight jig head, the 132, it will suspend better in the water column. But if you've got current, if you're in a river or a creek, it will also just wash up against the bank a lot quicker and get you snagged, or you'll find it very hard to work. And that's when that happens, when you're finding it too hard to work with the light one, you go up a bit. And if there's still too much current, well, you might go something a bit bigger. I've got something a bit bigger over here. I've got 1/8, which is double that again for the stronger water. The heavier ones, they will cast a lot further than the light ones. They will work better in the faster water, but they will never look as natural as what a light jig head will. So when you want to go natural, say you're fishing in an area that's had a lot of fishing pressure or something, and you just want it to look natural, the water's a bit warm and the fish are a little bit fussy, go for something natural, go for the lightest one you can get away with. If you're on a lake where you need it to sink 20 or 30 feet of water, or you want to cast right over near a weed bed that you don't want to get your boat or your kayak too close to, go something a bit heavier so you can cast it further. But for now, I think I might rig this up on the 1/16. The middle one, the average. That's the average, isn't it, really? It's not as heavy as them or as light as them. Okay, so I'll get one of these out. I've never used one of these striped tiger jig heads before. Mick from Striped Tiger sent me in to try out, sent me a couple, and said let me know what you think. They're actually a bit different than the Striped Tiger jig heads. They've got more of a square shape to them, you'll see. Instead of the standard round hook, they've got more of a square sort of a shape. I believe that is to give them extra strength, but only time will tell. Now, there's me jig head, there's me soft plastic. We want to put that on there. All we've got to do is slide it on, just roll it on. Like when you're a kid and you used to roll leeches up a stick and then break the stick, remember? We want that hook to be inside there and sticking up like that. And it doesn't matter whether it's upside down, back to front, because that's pretty symmetrical looking lure, this one. So let's just stick it through the hole, or through the end, sorry, there's no hole, we're making a hole. Run it down, and we'll bring the point out somewhere near them tentacles, not the other word that sounds like that. Now, look at that. That's ready to go. Ready to go. It doesn't have to be picture perfect. It might be a little bit off centre or something, and that's alright. That doesn't matter. I just tie that to the line, then I work that through the water, and what that does, these little tentacles here will wiggle around in the current, and so will the claws, and I'll bring it up and I'll shake it a bit, then I'll let it sink. Then I'll bring it up, then I'll let it sink, and then I'll bring it up, then I'll let it sink. Or I can just bring it straight through the water, dancing around. Even just running that along that bench there, look at the tentacles. Looks lifelike, doesn't it? Now, if you're in an area with a lot of small fish, or the fish are a bit fussy, something I often do, and this works very well in areas such as family-friendly fisheries, where the fish have been fed with chook pellets all their life and then thrown into a dam to fend for themselves, you can actually pull these claws off. Let's pull the claws off this fella. 1, 2. Now, that's a clawless nymph. That gives it a longer, skinnier sort of a look. More inclined to mimic some kind of a minnow or a tadpole or something. And if you want to, you can even pull the legs off as well. But that is ready to go. That's a striped tiger nymph, rigged and ready. And that particular design, not that without the claws, if I was to go up to Lake Samble, which I know has just recently been stocked with rainbow trout, or the Stanley Dam, or any of the Victorian family-friendly fisheries, it's a bit of a tongue twister that will be my #1 lure of choice, because that will work.